Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special evening. Today we do a little bit of a special. The weather's not fantastic outside, and we're going to go through the life and angling life of my good friend Nick Panther. So here we have the one and only.
Oh yeah, bud.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, always, especially in your company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's we don't get together very often anymore.
Well, no, because I haven't been here for 3 years, have I?
No.
So I've missed it. Don't get me wrong. As you know, like health-wise has stopped me coming, and yeah, I'm sort of really looking forward to this week.
This time. So
yeah.
It's I know it's a lot of anglers and a lot of people taking part in the competitions looking forward to seeing you. You've been missed every year, and yeah, it's just.
I've had so many messages, Andy. It's untrue.
It's good.
I could not believe it when you put a picture up saying Panther's coming up. Got home from out shopping with Debs and walking the dog, and I had 142 messages.
Yeah, swing on.
I couldn't answer them all. I just basically that's why I went on the Angling Adventures site. A few lads on there saying, "You definitely coming up, Nick?" And I said, "Yeah." And it was like, "Legend, you're coming up, brilliant. Can't wait to see you." A lot of old friends and a lot of new ones. You know, I missed a call today as well off my mate Mike, but I don't know if he's on camp yet. So I'm going to give him a call later, see if he's on camp. But these boys I met 3 years ago. There was 4 of them, and they, I'm not sure. I don't want to say where they come from. I've got a feeling might have around the Doncaster area.
Yeah.
But I found them on the beach, took photographs of them, because obviously that's what I do and I enjoy it. And we had a good laugh on the beach, and Mike and Rob was there as well.
Yeah, yeah.
They happened to be fishing the same part,
crazy,
but they all, it's amazing, isn't it? Just how these guys all gel together, even if they don't know each other and they're from different parts of the country. I absolutely love it, mate. I love it.
It's something special about this event. And
it is. I don't know. I mean, I've known Paul Roggeman for a long time. Obviously, the sad news that when he was diagnosed, and it wasn't long after that he went, and I mean we all know really just how much it affected everybody. He was a fantastic influence on me. Chris, I used to come up and stay in his house for a couple of weeks before the event. He took me round, I met all the people in the council. I watched how they put this whole show together, you know what I mean? And that's when it used to be at the spa at Bridlington.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Then it went from there to the Macus camp, and from the Macus then to here, and it's a progression. It's a natural progression, but this place is just amazing.
Yeah, it is.
It is. And considering that I've been up for 3 years, and you took me over the clubhouse today, I can't believe the change.
Crazy.
It is just like, it draws you in, doesn't it?
They're inputting and making it better, and I think a lot of it's to do with this competition.
Yeah, so it should be,
especially.
really. I mean, it's, it's very well attended.
Yeah.
And it's just, you walk over there, I mean, a lot of the anglers start arriving from about Thursday, don't they?
Yeah.
But the buzz in that clubhouse,
It's unreal.
it's something else,
It is,
you know?
it is.
And it's not, I just like, you know, going there and having a chit chat.
Yeah.
And, you know, hear about all the antics they've been up to in the local areas of fishing. And it's just nice to sit there and just
chill and just meet
listen,
people.
you know? Yeah, it is. It's great.
Well,
you know?
We're here, and so obviously the main thing for the night is to go through because obviously your angling career is pretty much over now.
Yeah, it is. I don't mind you saying that,
You've given it up, haven't you? Yeah.
I've given up beach fishing for good.
Yeah.
Health-wise, I can't do it no more. No. It's as simple as that. I don't want to go into
We'll go
all
into that
that
a bit later on.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go too much in depth. It's just basically I can't do it anymore.
No.
So I've got into the thin lip mulleting, which I absolutely love. I put a video on the site, as you know, and a lot of people saying thanks for putting that up, the little map spinner ones and all that, and I enjoyed that. And all right, I know it was a beautiful
Your
sunny
passion
day.
is not angling anymore; it's golf, isn't it?
Yeah, I do like playing golf. Yeah, it's
I made the wrong mistake of taking you to play golf one day.
You did, yeah. And I will say this, mate. So did my son Nathan. Right? As you know, Nathan sprays yachts, and I never used to see him a lot, but he took up golf,
which is more time with your son and that as well.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely love it. And you know, my youngest son Jack, he's a petrolhead.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I'm proud of my sons. What they've achieved.
Yeah.
You know, I got one that sprays multi-million-pound yachts and repairs them. Yeah. And I got another son that fits all the electrical stuff and all the engines in them. So they've done really well for themselves. And I stand back and I look and I think, that's, you know,
it's the bonding of that as well.
It is,
spending time with your family, and
it's priceless.
Oh, of course it is.
And obviously, when I had my heart attack 2 years ago, that could have been all over.
Yeah, of course it is.
You know, but it's not.
There's more important things in life than fishing.
Oh, yeah, it is. But yeah, no, just going back to that, I didn't want to say it on camera, but yeah, I do like a game of golf, lads. I must admit, I get time to spend. I get to spend a lot of time with my son, who I absolutely adore, and
that's good.
I get time to spend with this guy on the golf course as well. So don't be fooled. It's not just
taking me away a little bit, boys. It is now, but
I'm taking you away.
I enjoy golf myself, but it's good. It is good. But right, so going back from where it all started. So growing up fishing wise, so where did you grow up as a kid?
Where did I grow up? Well, born in Wales, as a lot of people know, born in Llanelli.
Yeah.
My parents, or my mother, split up from my old man when I was 3, and when I was 4 years old, we moved from Llanelli to Plymouth.
Right. Any reason for that at the time, or family down there, or?
No, not really. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people say, you hear stories of them where they say they throw a dart at a map wherever it lands, that's where we move to.
And that's what you've done?
No.
No.
I'm just saying I don't know the reason that she
But you ended
that.
up in Plymouth.
Yes. Yeah, and that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
I grew up in Plymouth, but I've still got my Welsh heritage because all my aunties, uncles, cousins are all Welsh.
Yeah.
And that's where I had an affinity with Papa G.
Yeah.
When he was alive, bless him, and the twins,
because
Darren and Dean. You know, who I
actually,
I think, I think so much of them. They're great. It's a shame they're not here this weekend, but never mind. Yeah. Maybe next year, you never know. But so moved to Plymouth. Now, I never fished when I was a kid.
Never?
No, not really. We used to go up on the hoe a lot and swimming. I was well into swimming growing up. I loved it because, like, most schools had swimming pools then.
Yeah, yeah.
And the one I went to at Whitley, that had a pool. I learned to swim, diving, stuff like that. Then we went to a place called Central Park, which was a swimming place and a diving place. I was well into swimming, and I didn't really get into fishing, but you'd walk around the Barbican and you'd see kids I did crabbing. You know what I mean? All kids do that when they're growing up. My kids did.
So most of your teenage years, you didn't do a lot of angling.
I didn't do a lot of angling when I was a teenager, to be truthful.
What was your hobbies back then?
Bike riding.
You still do a lot of bike riding?
I did, yeah. Not the stuff that you see these guys doing now on YouTube and that, and the stuff my boy Jack does.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
You've seen it,
yeah. I do a little bit of it, but nowhere near that level.
None of that, no. It's like being a Red Bull motorbiker, but on a push bike, It's amazing. No, mine was just riding a bike, keeping fit. So I worked hard.
So were you angling then? So when
angling started when I met a guy called Steve Puckey.
Yeah.
And I'd done a little bit of fishing here and there, but nothing, like we're talking about. And he was fishing on Devil's Point one day. This is my personality, how I relate to people, all right? And this is what I love about it, is there was a guy who I knew called Pete. I won't say his last name, all right, because it would be wrong to do that. And I'm still in contact with him now. He's still a good friend of mine. Both of them are.
Yeah, yeah.
But Pete was on there, and he was casting off the platform. And Steve was fishing sort of next to him. There was about 4 or 5 people on there fishing. And I used to ride from my house up Mutley and ride all the way down to Devil's Point to the platform and then ride all the way home again.
Yeah, yeah.
I just used to keep fit like that. And he cast out. I was watching him for ages. You got 2 platforms. You got a wall which you can lean on and look down.
Yeah, yeah.
And he cast out a few times, reeled in, and I thought, and then he put bait on as well, and he really hit a cast. And he said to his mate, he said, I nearly hit that boy over there. And Steve Puckey, who I didn't know, turned round and he said, why don't you piss off to the other side then and fish? He said, you won't have to cast so far and piss all us off. Like that. And I burst out laughing up on the platform.
Yeah.
And then Pete looked up and he went, look, and I said, all right, Pete. He said, hello, Nick, how you doing? I said, yeah. And then I come down and I started chatting to him, right?
Yeah.
And I started chatting to Steve and I found out that he lived right around the corner from me. I could walk to his house in 5 minutes.
Similar age? And you?
Yeah, me and Steve both same age.
Yeah.
And so he just said, we just hit it right off. When you meet someone, you think, you just click.
Yeah.
And he said, pop up your house one evening, like, you know. So I said, yeah, and there was no mobile phones then, you know what I mean? There was house phones, but you know, that's how long ago it was, mate. If you know, saying that, no mobile phones. Because all you see now is people on their phones. They never look
red
up
telephone boxes and that back then, wasn't it? Red telephone boxes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how it started. I went up to Steve one night and he said he was well into beach fishing, bass fishing. And the only reason he got into it is because he had an accident on the oil rig and he did his knee in and his back. And he got, it sort of pushed him away from that. So we needed something to concentrate on, obviously, because I dare say being on an oil rig is quite a busy sort of job. So he took up fishing and he went bass fishing, and it happened to be the year that he took it up, beach fishing, was one of the best bass seasons he'd ever had in the West Country.
Was it?
So he was hooked. You know what it's like.
Yeah. So what year are we going back? The 70s, 80s?
Oh, God, back in the
90s.
90s, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, that
So you
long
got
ago.
into fishing quite late.
I fished with Steve for 22 years.
Yeah.
And we did all the competitions. We met some great people. One of the most influential people that we ever met was a chap called Harry Nash.
Yeah.
A fantastic guy. He took me and Steve under his wing because we didn't know nothing.
No.
But we knew about beach fishing. I learned that off Steve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Harry taught us about the way to float fish, the way to flounder fish, to fish for plaice, to fish for giltheads. He took us with him when we went. Yeah. He showed us everything. He was and his son Dave, he was a really good angler as well, like, you know.
Yeah.
But obviously he didn't need guidance from Dad because he'd learnt it all.
Yeah.
So Harry sort of, you know, guys, I'm going over to Millbrook this weekend. Would you like to go? Yeah, we'll come. Straight on it, you know. And it was great. It was great. I learned so much from that guy, and that's why you know. I think that's why I like what you do and what SAA do, is bring in all the knowledge of everything that we do to the younger generation, because that generation now is dying, mate.
Yeah.
You know, we're not getting enough young anglers coming into the sport. And I sort of realised that when I was really into fishing with Steve, when my sons were growing up. And I took them carping in the carp lake. It's a way of easing them into it, innit? You know, because in the carp lake and catch fish all the time, and they loved it. Yeah, they loved it. You know what I mean? But when I tried to get them into the sea fishing, the electronic age hit us. Yeah. The PlayStation 1. That was it. All the kids in school wanted the PlayStation 1. The way, and then it went from 1, 2, 3. You know the score. Xbox, the lot. That was it. They would rather be in their rooms.
It's crazy
doing
because
that
you look back
than watching it.
You had like the Atari in that back, like
right back to that. All the platform games.
Yeah, but back then people weren't just staying and playing Atari all the time. They were still going out and stuff.
The kids weren't.
Yeah, but
even they weren't interested in sitting on a beach
even when I
or in
was
a chair
kid,
watching
though, you
the
had the Master System and that, and you play it, but you still go out with your friends and you start playing the street.
Yeah, maybe now, but not when it first came out, mate. When that PlayStation hit the shops, that was it.
It's crazy.
Everything stopped, and fishing stopped for them, and then they sort of went a different way. They both got jobs when they grew up. But Jack's been a petrolhead, as you know. He's got drift cars and all sorts, and he loves it. And he'll always be like that. That's why he does all the work on my car, so I don't mind. And Nath, as you know, is into golfing, and he loves golf, and he loves the job that he does. Yeah. And with me fishing with Steve, when I got into it, I got the bug for it. Yeah, the bug for it. And it was going to the tackle shops and meeting guys in there. Like, you should go to Clive's up to Exeter Street, Clive Way, lovely fella. And he was a diamond, really, because he used to make me smile. Some of the stories he used to tell me. But there used to be a lot of top anglers in there, you know. Not names that I particularly heard about, because I wasn't sort of, I wasn't reading like the
Sea Angler and
the magazines and all that, so I didn't know. But I gradually found out who they were and what they did and how respected they were, and I thought, you know, not so much I want to be like that, but I want to catch fish like they can.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into it.
Club scene. What got you in the club scene in the beginning?
Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first club you joined then?
24/7.
First club.
That's the first club we set up.
You set it up yourself. What was the reason you set it up then?
Right. Okay. We joined a fishing club called Pot Black in Plymouth. I'd never been a fishing club member ever. We joined it, and it was good. Met some nice people in there. I could say lots of names, but I won't, obviously, because a lot of them aren't about now. But I didn't so much enjoy the experience so much, because a lot of the anglers that were doing well, I realised that the club scene, a lot of it was all about the trophies.
Yeah.
For me, I was learning to fish,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so, you know, I never really thought that...
Did you find the club scene clicky at all? Or?
Not so much clicky, and it was like... I would say to some... I said to one guy, I won't say who he is, right? I said to one guy, look, you know, if you've got a mark, me and Steve can go and fish over here. He said, do what I do. I said, what's that? He said, get your walking boots on and walk the coastline and find somewhere to fish. And I thought, well...
Fair comment.
Yeah, but I didn't expect that. I expected him, because we were new to the game.
This is clicky.
And new in the club, that they would help us.
Yeah.
But no, it's like you're new, we're not.
You're his opponent in the club.
Yeah, but I wasn't competing for anything, and you have to understand, we were total novices.
But people do take things quite seriously.
I realised as the years went by that the marks these people had found, they want to keep to themselves, or to them and a few mates. And I quite understood it, but I didn't understand it then.
No.
I found that out later date. Then I understood why they were like that.
Yeah.
And I accepted it. You know, I've never been like that, mate.
No,
honestly.
I know you haven't. No.
And I've took a lot of flack over the years.
He says that.
No,
I got a story about that.
I took a lot of flack over the years for some of the things that I've told people.
I remember phoning you up. I remember, you won't remember, but it was before I met you, and you had a DVD out with 24/7 on a little secret beach in the Bristol Channel, as you put it.
Mate, I got slaughtered for that.
And I messaged him and I said to him, Nick, I love your articles and read them from Total Sea Fishing. There's any chance you can put us onto this mark? And he never replied, right? So me being me, I thought, I'm going to find it. And I spent 3 days on Google Earth. The only reason I found it was the telephone box, and they give it away.
Yeah. And
we went up in wetsuits, me and two of my mates, so we went up and we had raised, and I messaged him and said, found it. And he said, good for you.
Good for you. Good for you, but I didn't want to tell you.
And then he started talking. But
we got slated for that.
Back to 24/7, yeah. So you started 24/7.
Well, we left, we had a general AGM there. And it didn't go quite well. I won't go into the details. It just didn't go quite well, the AGM.
What's this for the other club?
This is Pot Black, yeah. So in the end, I looked at Steve and I said, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore, like, you know. Not because of the guys in there, just the way the club scene was. And it was my first taste of being in a club.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I said, look, you know, I'll just rather go fishing with you, mate, and just leave this. So he said, well, why don't we set our own club up? I thought, oh, that's a bloody good idea. You know, so we set up 24/7.
You and Steve?
Me and Steve, yeah, me and Steve Puggy. We set it up, we got it registered with the Federation and everything. And then some guys come and join it. Guys like us that were novices. They just come and joined it. And we went out, started fishing, having a right laugh. But you have to understand, though, back in that day, and right, when you went out fishing, you could float fish off the quay and get jumbo mackerel.
Yeah.
You could get big garfish over £2.
Yeah.
You can't do that now.
No.
You've really got to know your homework now to know where they are, because the fish are getting less and less and less. So it was good back in that day. The fish were plentiful when you went out fishing, so it kept you at it, you know. And then we met a few influential people. Mad Ed Slipker, you know. But we met him, and he took us out spinning for bass with the old Rapala J13.
It's crazy because the way you've just obviously was something what you obviously basically just started, and my outlook obviously going from like 24/7 about it. What I can say about that club, it was very tight bunch of lads.
Yeah,
you had a not a massive club. It's members wise, but
we only had 24 members.
24 members.
Yeah, that's all we allowed.
But you were everything was very family orientated. It was all thing. Everybody went together. You went to parties together. It was like a social. It wasn't just. It was a social side as well.
It was.
You would go out casting.
Every member of that club when we started it, after a year, every member of that club had children.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it wasn't clicky. It wasn't clicky
with dads.
Yeah.
you know, and it was great.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. Like the Christmas get-together, stuff like that. It was fantastic. I mean, you know, I got you to join, mate. I knew how important it was to have someone with your drive in there, because, I mean, I'm 34 years older than you.
I remember.
You know what I mean?
I remember Vinny. Yeah. And
you were like a carbon copy of what I was.
You were like the like a Jack Russell. You were.
Vinny did say that to me.
You sort of like. You wanted, you're a bit like with me, what I'm like with it. If you want something, you push and you get it.
Yeah, I wanted to see what we were capable of as anglers. It wasn't about catching huge specimen fish.
Well,
I was never into that.
One of the biggest clubs in the whole of the UK at one stage.
What's that?
Yeah, 24/7.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
known for the magazine stuff and that. How did you get into the magazine stuff and that then?
That was pure luck. I was all down to a guy called Roger Mortimer. And he comes up here. Yeah, he can.
Oh no, Roger Mortimer.
Roger Mortimer does the presenting. Right, I'll tell you how it went. We were fishing a competition, and TSF were there, and I got approached by Roger Mortimer, and he was asking about our club because we were all there suited and booted, if you know what I mean, with our tops on. And I mean, it just looked good, you know what I mean. Want to try it? Wasn't about trying to be famous and nothing. We just like all wearing the same tops and, you know, going out fishing together and having a laugh. Well, image is everything, but at that particular time, I never took that into consideration, right? But I got approached, and then he said, like, the editor of TSF, which was Dave Barham then, right? He'd like a word with you, and this was so I said, yeah. I said, well, when will I meet him? And he said, are you boys going to Bridlington? I said, yeah. And we stayed. That's when it was at the spa.
Yeah.
And we stayed in those little houses that got flats and that in there, and bed and breakfast. We took over the whole place.
Yeah.
Right, and it was great. Absolutely loved it. Met Dave Barnum. He stayed there, and I was talking to him in there. But he basically said to me that he's leaving the year after, and he introduced me to Darren Taylor, who was then
next editor.
Yeah, that was the next editor
before Barney then.
Yeah, before Barney. Yeah, well before Barney. I didn't even know Barney then. So I met Darren, and he said, like, would you like to do a bit of writing? And I said, well, I've never done any. Don't get me wrong, I got A-level English, you know. I know exactly what I'm doing like that. But I said I'd never done any media work whatsoever. And they said, well, we'll teach you. Yeah. And I went, all right. So I had a word with Steve, and I said, look, you know, they offered us a chance to write for the magazine. Did you ever have no
writing background?
No, none at all, Andy. Christ, nothing whatsoever. But if you listen to this now, this is how it... I'll try and do it quicker so I don't drag it out, right? Darren Taylor said, yeah, I want you to write. He introduced me to Jim Foster, who was the editor-in-chief, right? He was the main man, basically, apart from David Orr. So Jim had a chat at the table with me, and he said, yeah, you know, have a go with it. So I thought, all right. And how I wrote was not how they wanted it, all right? Because they teach you. So they, over a period of 12 months, I started turning things around, writing, and it was just the odd story here and there. But then all of a sudden, I don't know what it was, I just clicked, and I got really good at it.
Very good at it.
Very good. Yeah, no, I've got a degree in photography anyway, so that came in handy. And then I met Dodger, the other Roger Mortimer. Yeah. Or there's Roger Mortimer and Roger Mortimer, right? Yeah. But we called him Dodger, and he did casting as well. Me and him, I'll tell you, I just clicked. It was great, and he taught me a lot. And then he was on the media team for TSF. Yeah. And then, as you know, Darren Taylor died, so Barney took over. And then it was mainly Barney that pushed me with Dodger. Dodger was was Barney's right-hand man, basically. Deputy editor. Deputy editor. But I never said it. I always called him the right-hand man. And we just clicked, and I learned so much from them too. I learned how to put features together, different angles to take photographs from. That's weird, isn't it? Saying to someone like me who's got a degree in photography, how to change, because doing fishing photography is totally different than what I was doing with wildlife and that. So I thought, but I really, as you know, I took it like a duck
That's
to
where I
water.
learned it from.
Yeah,
From
yeah, I know,
you.
I know,
Yeah.
I know you learned it from me, but I took it was like a duck to water, and I got really good at it, and they pushed me all the time,
Yeah.
and I did magazine work for about 6 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it, loved every bit of it. I was a bit gutted the way it all finished without going into it too much, because I don't like to say too much I don't want to upset anyone, but like when Barney left, it was hard to cope with that, because he left and he went off to another magazine,
Fishing magazine.
but I didn't know
See,
nothing
fishing
about it. I got a call off Papa G one morning. He said, "I'm looking forward to seeing you the weekend," and I went, "What weekend?" He said, "Next weekend. We're all going up to so and so." I said, "Who?" He said, "All the writers."
Or the OTSF lot, basically.
So I said, "Well, I don't know nothing about that." He went, "What?" He said, "I don't know nothing about that." And at the time, I think I was Barney's lead writer.
Yeah, you were.
So I phoned Barney. I'll never forget this phone call ever. I was a bit stunned by it, to be
Bit
truthful.
of a kick in the teeth, isn't it?
Well, not so much a kick in the teeth. I phoned him up, and I remember the conversation. I said, "All right, mate." He said, "Yeah, what's up, Nick?" I said, "What's going on next weekend?" And it went dead quiet.
Yeah.
And he said, "What have you heard?" I said, "Oh, Papa G's rang me." That's Steve Gregory, by the way, guys. All right, we called him Papa G. I said, "He's rang me saying he's looking forward to seeing me next weekend." I said, "I didn't know what he's talking about," and it just went quiet on the phone. And I can't use the words that Barney said to me on the phone, but he totally 100% regretted
Yeah.
what he said, because he didn't tell me.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was included in it
No.
for some reason. I don't know why.
Which is
But in that-
maybe towards your
Hang
loyalty
on.
to yourself, yeah?
Let me just say that I wouldn't have gone anyway.
No, you wouldn't, no.
I would have stayed where I was,
yeah.
regardless who came in. But Dodger took over.
I think he probably knew that. 'Cause
Dodger took over for a while after he left.
You're like me. You're a loyal person at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I mean,
without doubt, mate. My friendship to you is so loyal, it's unreal.
exactly. And
you know?
that's and probably I would have thought from knowing you, and I don't know Barney very well, but knowing you,
Yeah.
he knew you well as well. And
I
would have thought that
don't
he
hold
knew
it
that.
against
No,
Barney.
no,
If
no,
Barney walked in here now, I'd get up,
Yeah,
shake his hand, and give him a hug. You know what I mean? He was a great guy. He'd done so much for me. He
It's a
really
shame
did.
because back then,
But it was just a
Total
shame that the magazine went the way it
Well,
did.
it's Total
you
Sea
know?
Fishing back then. It was by far the best magazine.
Yeah, I think I would have still been writing from even after
the
Barney
articles
left.
and the people, like one thing I always liked about your articles compared to any other writer, and like I've told you, obviously you're my favourite writer, was the simple fact of the humour. You would not read a story what you wrote without laughing.
Yeah.
And it was the way you put wording together, and you know
And
what I mean.
that's exactly what Dodger said to me.
It's a skill, because
He said
obviously
to me,
I've
"You've
done
got a
writing
different
and
way
stuff,
of
but
writing." He said, "We absolutely love it."
When I write it as I'm trying to obviously teach
Explain
someone
it.
and explain and
Yeah,
teaching.
yeah, I don't.
Where I haven't, you haven't. You've got that skill of the fact of you're telling the story,
Yeah.
but the humour in it, and it's very clever, and it is very clever. But you had like the likes of Wayne Thomas doing all the articles on Kev Leg. So you had this big
Kevin Leg, what an
specimen side.
angler.
You had Wayne McEwen
Yeah,
and
Wayne McEwen.
Steve Gregory
Yeah.
doing all the big stuff
Papa
this
G.
side. Then you had you obviously doing the.
I remember when I went to
24/7
Brid,
articles.
Barney phoned me up the day before we come up, and he said to me, he said, "Oh, someone's headhunting you." I went, "What?" He said, "Someone's headhunting you." I said, "Who?" He said, "He's
was
called
that?
Steve
Yeah.
Gregory." He said, "He's gunning for you." And I went, "What's that?" I thought I'd upset someone, right? I've got something to tell you about George Smith, and it's hilarious, all right? But I said, "Oh, why is that?" He said, "He wants to meet you." And I went, "Oh, fine." And he come up with Darren and Dean.
He did, yeah.
Yeah,
I was
that's when
there,
I first met him.
Yeah.
And I met him. and
Like ended in the lift.
oh, mate, we just
Yeah.
clicked like that, me and Steve.
Yeah.
And then he started writing for TSF.
Yeah.
I got him writing for him. And Steve Gregory, I love the guy to bits, honestly, and I still think so much. I still think about him a lot, even though he's gone. He's the only man I've ever met that can fall asleep in the lift standing up.
Yeah.
Fantastic, absolutely brilliant. But that's how my angling life went. It went from just doing normal angling, but bearing in mind, while I was writing, the whole of the club was still involved because Barney said to me, he said, look, you know, we want you to do features on what the club does together.
Yeah.
So I did a series for 12 months on that.
It is.
And then obviously I moved to something else after that because there's only so much. And then he said, have you got any funny stories that you can write about?
Yeah, I remember.
And I put a series of funny stories. I think it was 8 I wrote, all true. Everything in them stories happened.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? And when I sit and think, well, I've talked to you about a few of them, am I? And I've re-laughed about it because I can't think we did that back then. You think, my God, what did that guy think when he walked in the toilets at Chazal Beach and saw me and Steve in the middle of the floor with just our boxers on? You know what I mean?
What's going on
and
here?
he walked in the door and he went, yeah, okay. And walked out again, and he must have thought he's walked in on something. It's because we got absolutely covered by a wave. You know, I lost my beach buddy that night. Christ, that was dangerous. It's just stuff like that that's happened, but that's basically how I got into fishing, was through Steve, and then obviously we set 24/7 up, and we got opportunity after opportunity with
It was like
24/7.
To be fair,
to approach by film companies.
you
to make
were doing the DVDs,
yeah.
and obviously that was the main thing. But
Yeah.
to be honest, when I remember reading TSF, and then the first DVD come out, which was done with Selworthy,
Yeah.
with Gareth Davis and that,
Yeah.
Smart Fishing.
Yeah.
Still remember it. So you done that one there, and then obviously you got invited after that to do a second one, didn't you?
What I liked about that one, all right, we got slated for that, and I mean, I did a feature on that area first before we did the filming.
Yeah.
I did a 4-page spread on that mark, right? I knew what was coming on because you know what anglers are like, some really. You know, it's a close guarded secret, but I'm giving it out on a national magazine.
Job, you?
You know what I mean? And I got slated for it, and then we did a film up there, a DVD. But you've seen the DVD, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
And you've seen who's on the end of it.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Andy Coppin.
Right.
He's laid with us on the grass. And Andy was fishing on the beach. When we filmed it, he was further up. I went up and spoke to him. I always got on well with Andy Coppin. I thought he was a fantastic guy and a great caster and a bloody good angler as well. But he was laid. He was laid on the grass when we all come up, right? And we did the final closing of the shot, like, and he was there smiling on the grass. No one said a word to us after that.
No.
When they seen Mr. Coppin there, yeah, because Andy was well respected as an angler, a caster, and as a gentleman. He really was, you know. And so it sort of eased off after that. Then we made another DVD. Whitsands. That was hard because I had to go through the army, the navy. I had meetings with colonels to get permission to get down there.
We were talking about now, and a lot of these.
But this is this Jack Russell moment that you were on about. I'm talking about.
What the anglers, a lot of people won't remember back this time.
Yeah.
A lot of new generation is what Nick's talking about now. Back then, there was no YouTube. Okay.
No, nothing.
YouTube was.
There weren't even mobile phones.
YouTube was just about to start. YouTube wasn't started. Facebook was just starting.
Yeah, there was no mobile phones.
Like and there was no mobile phones or nothing or other. And the DVDs, they were advertising Total Sea Fishing, and they were really. You had like Matt Hayes and you had other people, but you never had Pacific guys doing sea fishing.
Yeah.
And these videos at the time were like, to be fair, they were fantastic, weren't they? But we're gonna have to take this call because Paul Med's coming to pick some crab up, so we will carry on in a moment.